This is Kyle McCord, and you're listening to Austin, Felix, and Matt on the Devy Debate.
Welcome to the Devy Debate. All right, boys. Are we ready to debate? Austin, you tweeted something, girl. You tweeted your running back rankings. Explain yourself.
Boy, that escalated quickly. I mean, that really got out of hand fast. You jumped up and...
That's Austin Nace.
Who is going to be that guy? And for me, Bijan Robinson is still going to be that guy.
Back to the ground with Robinson, who spins and then tries to bounce it. A stiff arm, another one as he rides it, keeps his balance. They're going to say he stepped out, but
I'm Felix Sharp. I know you didn't think that we would get through this episode without mentioning the name one Zach F. Wilson.
Screener draw. Oh, Wilson is going to uncork for the end zone, and he drops it in beautifully. And it is his roommate, Dax Milne, on the touchdown.
That's Matt Bruning.
G. Scott Jr. Obviously, I waxed poetic about him on the last episode, so I won't do that again here.
And it's Thomas Fields on the carry. Watch out. Justin Fields. Hello, Columbus. 51 yards.
Bruning, are you ready to go head-to-head with me?
I am.
Got to get my popcorn out here. Hold on.
Got to continue. I got it. Kyle McCord is going to end up winning the job. He's going to be rated higher.
Well, I'm not nearly as passionate about what I'm about to talk about.
Our apologies to Kirk Street. We ran out of time. We'll get him rescheduled soon. And for Matt Bruning and Austin Nace, I'm Felix Sharp. Good night and good luck. It's 9:30 Eastern time, the only time zone to get a feature from Yeet. That means it's time for the Devy Debate, brought to you by CampusToCan.com. On a IDGAF version of tonight's show, Alex Grinch is out. Ole Miss gets a pair of big performances from its backfield in our first Campus to Canton mock draft for 2024. So we're going to take out the projected 2024 NFL draft class, and we're going to do a C2C mock draft that we're doing right now behind the scenes. But before we get to that, player performances from all over the country this week. I really kind of want to just open it up. Chris, any performances that stood out to you from this week?
I mean, I thought Jalen Milroe was spectacular against LSU. 4 rushing touchdowns. He kind of dominated the game where he needed to. LSU was super injured in their secondary. He took advantage. No passing touchdowns, but he was good through the air. I've been really impressed with the way Milroe has kind of played the last couple of weeks versus where he started the season. I think he's getting more comfortable. He needs reps. He's like a fairly raw player. But yeah, I mean, I thought he was excellent. Like truly, like they needed him to beat LSU, and he delivered for sure.
And we're always trying to think of like both the Devy and CFF value of a player. I mean, Matt, when we're talking about Jalen Milroe, I think it's still purely CFF, right?
Oh, 100%. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if he gets drafted in like the 5th, 6th, 7th round because he is such a good athlete and a team tries. I mean, let's be honest. Granted, DTR had 4 years. He was at UCLA for 4 years. 4 years, some really good moments. He has not actually looked too bad with the Browns at times when he's had to step in for Deshaun Watson. I think a team might take a shot on Jalen Milroe just because of how athletically gifted he is. But I don't see him being drafted as to be like a guy for a franchise. And I wouldn't be surprised, honestly, with the way he's been playing the past couple of weeks. Like Chris said, him playing better and Alabama not really having much of a future right now. I wouldn't be surprised if Nick doesn't find a way to talk him into coming back next year and being their starting quarterback. So he may not even be coming out in this draft cycle.
Is he a better prospect than Malik Cunningham? I don't think so.
Yeah, I don't think they'd move Milroe to wide receiver. They might.
They didn't move Malik Cunningham to wide receiver.
Malik Cunningham is playing wide receiver in the NFL.
He's playing both. He's playing like both. He played quarterback in the preseason.
Milroe is a better player than Malik Cunningham is. This is someone who did not like Malik Cunningham really at all in the draft process, or like legitimate NFL prospect. So take that with a grain of salt. But I would say Milroe's better.
He's better. He was fine through the air, but he was not. I mean, he had more rush. He had 200 and something rushing yards, if I remember correctly. And the way that they're throwing the ball, it's going to be hard to have a guy that you can count on is to kind of start on the college side. But I still think Isaiah Bond deserves to be like a top 20-ish wide receiver for me. I mean, he is for me.
Has Jermaine Burton, I know his stock was on life support. Has he done enough to get day 2 consideration for the NFL? Because I think he's leaving.
Yeah, he should. I mean, he should. This is his 4th year. I think so. He's going to get drafted on day 3. But when we did the who could be the next Puka Nacua, a couple of weeks ago, Jermaine Burton is one of the players that we mentioned, and I think that's valid. I mean, if you look at the pedigree, recruiting pedigree, athleticism, very similar to Puka Nacua. And could somebody take that type of athlete in the 4th or 5th round and they immediately contribute to the offense? Yeah, I think so. I mean, so Matt Waldman put him like in the Robert Woods range of player.
Yeah, I enjoyed that show.
Yeah, I could see that.
Yeah, I mean, he's not having I shouldn't say he's not having a horrible season. Most of I believe over half of his yards came in that one game a couple weeks ago. But, I mean, didn't Slade Bolden get drafted fairly early in the NFL? I don't think it's unfair to say Jermaine Burton's got a little bit of a better skill set or tool set than Slade Bolden. So I'm hoping he goes day 2 just for Colin. Colin's been propping him up for years on this network. I just want him to see go day 2 so Colin can smile during the draft next year.
Yeah, I agree with you. I want to bring up C.J. Stroud's performance here. I know this is a college show, but from the NFL perspective, he set the single game passing record for a rookie, beat Andrew Luck's record with like 460 yards passing. The reason why I want to bring it up is because, Matt, I think you and I were on the same page here during their last season that C.J. Stroud should, it's not just clear that Bryce Young is the one overall quarterback. There was a point at which I had CJ Stroud as my number 1 quarterback just because of how elite he was as a passer. Now, there are a couple of things that led me to rank Bryce Young. I think Bryce Young's recruiting pedigree led me to do that. The fact that he was doing it at Alabama, the fact that he had more athleticism, and then CJ Stroud, not somebody who was going to move a whole lot, who was coming from that Ohio State system, and we still had questions about whether or not those players could translate. But I mean, I'm not really surprised about what he's doing. I mean, he was like this. He would make some of these throws in college. You'd be like, damn, that's like, I don't think you could throw that ball better than what he just threw it. And now he's doing it with Noah Brown and Tank Dell and Nico Collins and Dalton Schultz. I mean, that team they don't have weapons there. And Tank Dell might be their best wide receiver. Like, if you're looking at like the next 15 years after Josh Allen and Patrick Mahomes, I don't know that Lamar Jackson's game is going to age that well. Yeah. Jalen Hurts will be right there, I think. But, I mean, you could argue that C.J. Stroud is right there with, Justin Herbert in that next tier, I think, if he's going to continue to develop like this. And if they're going to have a plan for his development like the Buffalo Bills had for Josh Allen, I mean, C.J. Stroud is going to be good for a very, very long time.
I mean, it seems like it. And I'll be the first to say that I wasn't always that high on CJ. And I'm not even talking about just the Kyle McCord stuff. You mentioned it, the moving. That was my biggest fear about him going to Houston, was that offensive line was not good. And I was like, if you watched him at Ohio State, he was not good out of structure. He cannot throw on the run. He was not good making plays off script, and he's looked very, very good in the NFL. I've said it before and I'll say it again. The one thing that he got a ton of praise for at Ohio State was his mind. Like, they talked about him like he was a coach on the field. And I think you see that on the field in the NFL. There have been press conferences. I think Chris, I don't remember if it was on the after show, if it was literally during the show, we talked about it one time, a clip where he gave a soundbite of talking about like what he saw and walked this reporter through a play. This is a rookie in the NFL. Like his brain is just, I think, a separator for him. We already knew he had the arm talent. I mean, Felix, I know there was one, I want to say it was a throw to JSN in the Michigan game 2 years ago that you always talked about, where like he threw it over a linebacker before, like, and hit JSN in stride before JSN even made a break in that route. Like that is how good we knew CJ Stroud was. I'm not going to pretend like I was always that high on him. And like I said, I did have concerns about him going to Houston. I wanted him to go to Carolina because I thought that he would do much better there with that offensive line protecting him. But yeah, I don't see any reason why I personally wouldn't put him up there with Herbert just yet, but I think I don't see how he's not a top 10 quarterback in the NFL. Like, I don't know how you can name top 10 quarterbacks ahead of him. And I'm honestly very happy for him because I know a lot of people, you know, let's just be honest, shit all over him because he was coming from Ohio State, because none of those guys have really proven it yet. So I think he's gone out there and kind of shown all those people up, and he's done a really good job. Like I'm very excited to see what he ends up becoming, because this is just his rookie season. Like he's not the finished product, and he gets weapons around him, a better offensive line. It could get even better.
I was all in on Bryce Young over him, basically from start to finish. And the one time that I questioned that was the Georgia game that they ultimately ended up losing. But the way that he played in that game was different than I feel like I had seen him play at Ohio State for 2 years. I really saw a different quarterback in that game. And I sat there and I was like, okay, maybe this dude deserves to be ranked above Bryce. I ultimately kept Bryce as my one, just for a lot of reasons. But yeah, I don't think as we sit here November whatever in the year of our Lord 2023 that you can make an argument that Bryce Young should be ranked ahead of CJ Stroud.
November 8th, Chris. Just so you know.
Sorry, November 8th. I didn't have dude, I have no idea what day of November it is.
I understand. It's getting to that point in the season where every day just kind of runs together.
When I look at this NFL season, this current NFL season, there are so many conversations that are being had right now in like the dynasty community that we've forgotten, but we've had them for like 3 years. One is the CJ Stroud, Bryce Young conversation. As a matter of fact, we're a long ways away from that. 2021 opening game against, was it Minnesota? It was Minnesota or Rutgers. And we're like, are they going to bench CJ Stroud for Kyle McCord? And yeah, that game. And he actually looked good in the second half of that game. But then the other one is, and you guys, I think I was on this. There's an argument for Jahmyr Gibbs over Bijan Robinson because of how Jahmyr Gibbs is going to ultimately be used at the next level. Now, the funny thing is you can't really project that a team is going to use a player the way they should be used. Hello, Arthur Smith, Kyle Pitts, Bijan Robinson. But Ben Johnson with the Lions is using Jahmyr Gibbs now the way he should be used. They're throwing him the football in the flat, trying to get him in space. In the passing game. He's going to be a player that has like 100 receptions and 1,000 yards receiving at some point and 1,000 yards rushing. I still believe that to be the case. And when you're used that way, there's an argument for you to be, the number one running back. And we see how Bijan Robinson is being used. But if you had to draft today, those two are going to get taken like really, really close to each other. Really close to each other. So I don't know. What's another performance? Moxie, you got any other performances that you wanted to highlight?
Can we just talk about the elephant in the room? The USC defense and really the entirety of the USC game. I'll start with this. Alex Grinch was fired on Sunday. I was a little surprised, to be honest. I didn't know if it was actually going to happen or not. What performance do you think got Alex Grinch fired? Was the question that I was wondering. Was it when they gave up 41 to Colorado, 41 to Arizona in a 3 overtime game, 48 to Notre Dame, 34 to Utah, 49 to California or 52 to Washington? Or was it Caleb Williams crying on the sideline with his mom that really pushed you over the edge? Because I think it's the last one. When your star quarterback, who was excellent on the day, is that emotional after a loss, when you are 1-4 or 1-3 in your last 4 games, yeah, like the optics are bad, dude. USC, Caleb Williams did not cost that team that game. The offense did not cost the team. You have to get a stop somewhere, and they didn't. And Alex Grinch is gone, and I think that he couldn't handle the PR fallout from Saturday. That's good. He stinks. He should have never been hired in the first place and brought over by Lincoln Riley.
Yeah, I don't know where Alex Grinch came from OU with Lincoln Riley, right? But I don't know where he was before then.
Ohio State.
But it's been
he's at Washington State
real?
too, I think.
Yeah, he was at Ohio State. I'm almost positive right before he went to Oklahoma, because his defense was just as bad at Ohio State.
Yeah. So the 2015 Washington State, 2017, which is like Leach, and defense wasn't good there either. Spends a year at Ohio State. Yeah.
So this is the type of thing that happens when I'm like, why doesn't Eric Bieniemy have a head coaching job? Why wasn't Deion Sanders a head coach before? I mean, you got somebody like Alex Grinch who's being pulled along by Lincoln Riley. I mean, is there an argument that he deserves the jobs that he's gotten? Like that he's earned them somehow? I'm genuinely asking. I'm not judging. Like, I'm genuinely asking. I know he deserved to be fired, but I'm like, how did he get to this point where, he's attached to the hip of one of the more notable college football coaches in the country? What did he do to actually deserve that? I want to actually flesh this out and go look and see what his career trajectory was.
He's a 4-time Broyles Award nominee or winner. I'm not sure. For nominee. So like, that's top assistant coach in the country. So like, at points in his tenure, he has done well, but he was a DB coach at Wyoming.
Yeah.
Then he was a safety coach at Missouri. He did his best job probably at Washington State under Leach, and he was the defense coordinator. Then he was a co-defense coordinator for Ohio State for a year. Oklahoma and USC are basically like mirror images of each other. They're the exact same team. Defense can't defend, and USC is the exact same way. So, yeah, I mean, he's been nominated for like the best coach or assistant coach in the country, but so was Josh Gaddis 2 years ago, and he won it. So how much stock does that really hold?
I got nothing to add. He sucked at Ohio State. That's all I got.
Matt, you got to fill in here because I'm sitting here trying to make picks.
I'm trying to remember how good that team was. I know they were 13-1, but I don't remember the defense being that good. I know that was that the year that they, if I'm remembering correctly, and I don't know, Nate, I'm sure will correct me in the chat tomorrow morning or whenever he listens to this show. I am almost positive that Grinch got the job at Oklahoma coming off the fact that Michigan was, I believe, a highly ranked team at the time. And that was the year that they beat them down. It was like 62-30 something.
39.
Yeah, and that offense was like highly praised for Michigan. Everybody had Ohio State going in there. I'm almost positive as the underdog, and Alex Grinch was like praised as this genius and everything. And I'm almost positive that's the reason he got the job, because I don't believe he coached the bowl game against, I think they played Washington that year. I don't think he was there. So I think that is honestly why he got it, because I don't remember that being like an overall good season, personally.
They gave up a lot of points to teams that you probably don't want to give up a lot of points to, just looking at
that. Was the year that they lost to Rondale Moore, wasn't it? That was
that was the Rondale Moore
game.
game.
That's what I thought. Yeah, it was
49-20.
They didn't lose to Purdue. They lost to Rondale Moore. Let's just clarify.
How much money did Rondale Moore make off of that performance? Because he made, I mean, the highlights from that game and all those missed tackles that like Jeff Okudah and Chase Young missed. Because there was one run that Rondale Moore had in that game. I think he broke the tackles of 3 first-round picks on one play. It was Chase Young, Jeff Okudah, and somebody else that he broke the tackles of.
Jeff Okudah, who is probably Denzel Ward. That would have been probably Ward's
been
last year, I think. So,
okay. Do we want to talk about Michael Penix, Caleb Williams? I mean, since you kind of broached the issue with Alex Grinch, both of these guys are really good.
I feel bad for Caleb. I mean, I thought it was going to
I do
happen. Felix, we talked a little bit about it on the Better Sports Show earlier this year. Like takes we were afraid. I think it was takes we were afraid to say out loud, or we thought was going to come true, or something like that. And I said, I don't think Caleb Williams is ever going to make it to the playoffs. How disappointing is it that a player of his talent is not only never going to get to even make the playoffs, but only play what they only played in one Pac-12 championship game, right? Because I don't think he played in the Big 12 championship game. So he's played in one championship game in his 3-year career. I think Lincoln Riley's overrated. And I hate to say that out loud, but I think he's a little bit overrated. I don't doubt this man's offensive genius, but this dude can't put a team together to save his life.
So I was thinking about this today when I was driving home. How much like the defense is not like the personnel on the defense is not bad enough to be giving up 49 points to Cal. It's just not. Like Alex Grinch malpractice. But I don't think the personnel is all that good either. Like, I don't think they have dudes. I think they're pretty soft on defense. I think like if they were in the Big Ten this year, they might go. They might get like 7 wins, and that's including as part of the Big Ten West, right?
I disagree with that because I don't think that there are teams in the Big Ten that can actually score with them. Maybe Michigan can. Maybe Ohio State. You think?
So
yeah, but they're on offense. They're still going to score 45. Can Ohio State score 45?
They've played 2 games against physical teams and gotten beat.
Ohio State, Michigan, Washington, Oregon. There's 4 teams right there that can score with USC. Because remember, Oregon's coming too. Oregon's going to be there. Oregon is now a Big Ten team.
Like I mean, they scored 32 against Utah, and Utah on the road too. Utah on the road is like half of what Utah is at home. Notre Dame held them to 20. Like those are the 2 most physical teams that they're playing, and they just get out physicaled every single week. It doesn't matter in the Pac-12. It's going to matter a heck of a lot more in the Big Ten. I really don't like the way that this USC team is constructed. That's a Lincoln Riley problem.
Yeah. What's the other coach that wasn't able to win the big one until they actually did? I mean, I think that's going to be Lincoln Riley's story.
Kirby Smart, but I think Kirby. Here's the difference. So here's why I say Lincoln Riley's overrated. Kirby Smart recruits both sides of the ball. Go back and name me the top defensive players that Lincoln Riley's getting. He's not. Like, that's the issue. Like, what did Ryan Day do? And I'm not trying to say Ryan Day is much better than Lincoln Riley. He hadn't done it either. But what did he do after all of a sudden this offense kept doing all this and their defense stopped? They started recruiting defensive side of the ball, and he's flipped everything for the defense. Like, the good coaches do that. Kirby Smart knows, hey, this isn't working for me. What does he do? He goes and gets Todd Monken. Now they win back-to-back national championships, have a chance to go get a third. Granted, different offensive coordinator like Nick Saban completely changed how he ran his organization in Alabama every time he needed to. We don't see that from Lincoln Riley. It's the same thing at Oklahoma, going to the same thing at USC. He's going to bring the same thing into the Big Ten. Maybe he'll be good enough because it's a 12-team playoff. So we'll actually get a chance to see these guys go into playoffs. I don't think that team's anywhere near good enough to win a national championship. Unless he fixes the defensive side of the ball, they won't ever be. You're not going to get that lucky that you're going to run through that many rounds. Maybe in a 4-team, not in a 12-team playoff, you're going to be that lucky to run through that many teams with no defense.
So the number opened today at 14. Oregon is favored by 14 points. That's a huge spread for a USC team that you expect to be like a top 25 team. Because I saw you post that on Twitter earlier, Felix. I don't agree. I don't think they're a top 25 team. And I mean, if you told me that USC would be 2-touchdown underdog to Oregon this late in the season, that's embarrassing, to be honest. There's no other way to put it.
That wasn't yesterday. That was today. That was 3 days ago. No,
I said earlier.
You said earlier?
Look, Chris already said that all these days are running together for him. All right, he doesn't know what day it is at this point.
Listen, you guys got to forgive us. Times it messes up my whole lifestyle.
You gotta forgive us for some of the awkwardness here. We're sitting here trying to talk while also doing the mock draft in the background, so that's leading to some of these awkward pauses and stuff. So we're trying to get some of these rounds done before we actually bring it up on the screen.
Let me ask a question because it's my pick. Are we allowed to make a pick of like a player we think is going to go back?
Going back, yeah, because I thought about taking Raheem Sanders. So
see, I'm debating on.
I mean, just
I'm gonna make.
wait. We got to save that. Let's save that. Let's
make
not
my pick.
let
'Cause
the cat out of the bag. Yeah, go ahead and make your pick, but don't talk about it right now. We will get there soon enough. The people can wait.
I already know who this is.
No, you don't.
Let's see here.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
You didn't think it was going to be that person, did you?
All right, we'll let the audience know when we get to that.
Yeah. I'm not going to say it.
I don't know what else needs to be said about this week. Oh, Caden Fegan. Caden Fegan is becoming Brett Bielema's bell cow, and if he's catching the ball too, my problem with Caden. All right, Caden Fegan out of Illinois. For those who don't know, he was the player of the year for the state of Illinois last year. But he didn't even play running back his senior year. He played quarterback. He's played defensive end and linebacker and all of these positions. I was really scared of his physicality or lack thereof that I just saw on his high school tape. But I mean, otherwise, this is a 6'2", 240-pound player. This is the type of running back that I really, really like. And there were so many players in that backfield. Josh McCray, Reggie Love, Anderson. I can't remember Anderson's first name. All of these running backs look the exact same in Illinois' backfield because that's the way Brett Bielema recruits them. It just seemed like it would be hard. And then even looking in the spring, Caden Fegan wasn't like getting rave reviews. I mean, he was like, yeah, he's there. He's a guy. He's going to be a reserve. Nobody thought that he would take the backfield this year. So I definitely didn't think that he was going to be what he's been. He's gotten like at least 18 carries the last 3 weeks, I think. 80 yards rushing in this one. He caught a long touchdown pass on a screen. If he's going to be Brett Bielema's bell cow for 3 years, he has the potential to get, I don't know, day 2 NFL draft capital, right? I mean, day 2. I mean, he has the chance. He's a better prospect than Chase Brown. He's going to be a better prospect than Chase Brown because he's younger. He's going to be younger than Chase Brown.
He's going to be bigger than Chase Brown, too.
And bigger and faster than Chase Brown, yeah.
I don't love these 240-pound backs like you do. So, no, I'm not ready to quite say he's going to be a day 2 pick.
Derrick Henry, Ramondre Stevenson. I mean, I'm just saying, like, some of these guys
Caden Fegan is not Derrick Henry.
Isn't Derrick Henry in his athletic comps? No, it's not actually because I
don't think
I think it was at one point. I thought it was at one point in his athletic comps.
When the only inputs were weight and height, probably.
I mean,
yeah.
Still. Okay.
I got one more
that
I think is notably. We just talked USC Washington. Dylan Johnson, like 200+ yards, 4 touchdowns. Like what a monster performance from him. You can run and because it's against USC. Kind of, but I mean, listen, you got to perform.
Yeah, you still got to go do it. Let's see here. Okay, so nobody on this list is good, in my opinion, except for Braylon Allen. So, just so you know, I just typed Caden Fegan in. Caden Fegan,
you're looking at Caden Fegan in the athletic comp database. Who are the comps there?
So his top comp is Chris Warren from Texas. You got Sam Scott, Rashad Jennings, Braylon Allen, Brian Leonard, Frank Moreau, Braylon Russell, Cameron Jones.
See, you're saying that those aren't good comps. There's like 4 guys there that went to the NFL. Brian Leonard, Chris Warren, Rashad Jennings was the Giants starting running back. He was like a first-round pick. 10, I don't know. Time goes by fast. A long time ago.
Was different back then. We're not seeing running backs. So like Braylon Allen's probably the best.
But I'm just talking about the comps, though. Those are good comps. Those are NFL players.
No, I'm not saying the comps are good. I'm saying compared to, we were just talking about like Derrick Henry type comps in here, and then we pull it up, and none of those guys are there. It's just
Brian Leonard, of Rutgers fame, Leonard Leap.
Yes.
That's a great comp.
Okay, sure, yeah.
Big Brad Leonard fan.
All right, it's my pick though. So now I have to. Chris, do you want to handle housekeeping and tell people to help us get to 2,000 subscribers while I make this pick?
Yeah, our YouTube is growing. I think it's grown a lot in this offseason and this season. We're trying to expand C2C, Devy, college fantasy to so many audiences and people who are interested and kind of don't know about it yet. Get us to 2,000 subscribers. I know there are a lot more people watching these videos than there are people that are subscribed. Make sure that you are doing so. It helps us grow, and it helps the content that you like grow in turn. So subscribe to the YouTube.
Great job filibustering there. All right, I think we're ready to just go ahead and bring the bring the mock draft onto the screen. I just made my pick. Are we ready? Yeah, Matt, if you're ready, Matt, if you bring it onto the screen, I'll do some discussing of the mock draft thus far, and maybe ask you guys some questions while we continue to make picks. So, all right. So we do have, again, we are doing a 2024 C2C mock draft. We've already got a round and a half done. So we're taking out the 2024 draft class. So no Caleb Williams, no Drake May, all of those, no Devontae Walker. We expect all of those guys to leave. So this is what the first round has looked like in this mock draft. Luther Burden went number 1 to Chris, and it's just the 3 of us. So we each have four teams. I don't think I'm going to just say who took it. I'll just say the player's name. That's too much. Luther Burden went 101. Evan Stewart went 102. Zachariah Branch went 103. Quinshawn Judkins went 104. Then Cedric Baxter, Deuce Robinson, Carnell Tate, Nick Singleton, Justice Haynes, Connor Wegman, Jonte Cook, Amarian Hampton here at the 112. Chris, any picks surprise you or anything surprise you about this first round?
Are we allowed to talk about other people's picks too?
Yeah.
You took Deuce Robinson way too high.
No, I did not, but whatever.
I mean,
Deuce Robinson
he's playing
was getting
receiver.
significant snaps yesterday, and it looks like he surpassed Dorian Singer. I really like Deuce Robinson, but
I just think that's a little aggressive considering he's playing wide receiver. If he was playing tight end, I would be more interested. And maybe he comes out as a tight end, but I don't want to bank on that per se. My biggest takeaway, though, is that these next 2 classes, I don't want to say they stink.
No,
They certainly leave a lot to be desired from what we currently know about these players. I'll say that.
It's insane.
I was at the 103. Like, geez, who am I gonna take here? Like, it feels like I'm stretching already here in the first round. I'm sorry. Go ahead, man.
No. If you would have sent this draft board to us at the beginning of this year and said, hey, we're going to do a 2024 mock, there is no way in hell Nick Singleton is not the first player off the board, more than likely. And he goes off the board here in the second round or end of the first. Drew Alar in the second round. Like, it's insane the value change in these players from the beginning of the year to what's gone on so far.
Yeah, it really has. A lot of freshmen, no quarterbacks in the first round. Or excuse me, Connor Wegman. Connor Wegman went in the first round to Chris. Only one quarter. If you would have said last year that, hey, you're gonna do a mock draft, and the only quarterback taken in the first round is Connor Wegman, you would have laughed. You might have laughed. So
what was the ADP looking like for this offseason? We must have like 6 in the top, 14?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, Alar was going, Quinn, Caleb, Drake. I mean, that's 4 right there. I know most of them
we had
were going
5 in the
first
first 5 in the first 14. And now we have 1 in the top 10. So,
and a lot of those startups, Malachi and Dante were going toward the end of the first or early second too.
Yeah.
I mean, Malachi still went here, but I'm going to take, I thought Felix had picked, so.
No, go ahead. Why don't you go through the second round here, or the picks that have been made through the second round, and I'll make my pick. Yeah, I need you to filibuster for me.
At 2-1 was Tetaroa McMillan, the wide receiver out of Arizona. At 2-2, Drew Alar, quarterback for Penn State. At 2-3, Malachi Nelson, USC quarterback. 2-4, Jackson Arnold, Oklahoma quarterback. At 2-5, Aiden Childs, Oregon State quarterback. At 2-6, Arch Manning, Texas quarterback. At 2-7, Eugene Wilson, the third, Florida wide receiver. That was a 2-7. At 2-8, you had Micah Hudson, wide receiver, will be a freshman going to Texas Tech. Then at 2-9, Georgia commit quarterback Dylan Raiola. And then now at 2-10, Ashton Gianti, running back for Boise State. And then at 2-11 is going to be Dante Moore, quarterback UCLA.
How risky does it feel like taking Dante Moore here, Chris? Because we don't even know where he's going to be next year.
I mean, I've been looking at him for like a round, right? And every time I'm like, okay, this guy has less risk. This guy has less risk. I've seen Dante Moore throw pick sixes in like 3 straight games. Like, I've seen this happen. So yeah, I think this is the appropriate spot for him. And yeah, I don't know if he's coming back to UCLA. I mean, he's got to be pretty pissed off about how things have gone over the last month for him, being benched and whatnot. But yeah, I think he has to go in the top 2 rounds of a draft like this. But there's a reason that he went 23rd pick.
I mean, there's just not a lot there that I feel like is good to take over. I'm looking at some of these running backs, and I'm like, I'm good waiting. I'll grab another guy later. Same with the wide receivers. There's not a lot. Like maybe Jeremiah Smith. There's a couple other of these true freshmen coming in you might like, but I don't love anybody in this range.
Chris, the last 2 picks were Ashton Jeanty and Dante Moore. You got a double tap here for the 212 and 301. Just talk with us what you're thinking about right now.
I'm looking at a freshman quarterback probably. I took Dylan Raiola at the 208. I think he's the best quarterback in the class. And I'm going to go freshman quarterback again this year in Julian Sayin. I think he's a pretty good player. I am not nearly as deep in the recruiting as I'm sure Matt and you are, but as the rest of our recruiting team, who's just, I mean, those dudes work so hard. But I know enough to say I'm going to draft a quarterback going to a very high-end university that is going to retain value because they're probably not going to see the field. That's not a bad bet, I don't think, right? We're getting Arnold, Manning, all still within the same spot that they were going. So yeah, I would take Julian Sayin here. We're going to do 3 rounds.
3 rounds. I don't know. We'll see here. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think, we were talking about this with Jalen Milroe. I would not be surprised if Julian Sayin ends up being the starting quarterback for Alabama next year if Jalen Milroe ends up leaving. So, I think that's actually a really good pick. I don't know that he, won't end up being the starting quarterback for Alabama.
Yeah, I think Julian Sayin is on that perfect path where Ty Simpson missed. I don't think Lonergan or Holstein are the guy. And then 301, going to take the wide receiver 1 for most recruiting services and the wide receiver 2 for us. And that's Jeremiah Smith going to Ohio State.
And Matt is up. So just to recap where we're at so far, we just finished the 2nd round. Here have been the picks so far. Luther Burden at 1, Evan Stewart 2, Zachariah Branch, Quinshawn Judkins, Cedric Baxter, Deuce Robinson, allegedly taken too high, Carnell Tate, Nicholas Singleton, Justice Haynes, Connor Wegman, Jonte Cook, and then we closed out the 1st round with Amarian Hampton. Matt, Amarian Hampton too high in the 1st round? I mean, you're going to get CFF value from him too.
I mean, I don't. I would at least have taken Tetaroa over him. Probably some of those quarterbacks, because yeah, you're going to get CFF value out of him, and sure, I imagine he's probably going to get drafted and get decent draft capital. So it's not a horrible pick.
And I should raise my hand. It was me. I love the 220-pound running back. So
top 12 seems a little excessive.
And then I took a big wide receiver, of course, here. So that is
I only picked on you one time, but I could have picked on you twice.
What, for taking Tetaroa right there?
Oh no, Tetaroa is a great pick. I love that pick. I'm certainly considering him.
Oh, you mean for taking Deuce Robinson, Amarian Hampton. Okay. Listen, it's been years of you guys making fun of me about Amarian Hampton, but he's breaking out this year, leading rusher in the ACC. Here's the 2nd round. Tetaroa McMillan went at the 201. Then Drew Aller, Malachi Nelson, Jackson Arnold, Aiden Childs, the Oregon State quarterback, Arch Manning. Aiden Childs ahead of Arch Manning there. Interesting. Eugene Wilson, the dynamic freshman from Florida. Micah Hudson and Dylan Royola, 2 incoming freshmen. Then Ashton Jeanty, the Boise State dynamic running back who's been putting up Christian McCaffrey-like numbers on the college side of your leagues. And then Dante Moore and Julian Sayin to round out the 2nd round. Here we are in the 3rd round. I'm at the 303. Matt, Chris, let me hand it to you, and you guys, tell me what I should be thinking here. So,
well, real quick, the reason I took Aiden Childs over Arch Manning, we've talked a lot about it over the past couple of weeks. We think there's a realistic shot Quinn comes back. I don't know that Arch is starting next year for Texas. I mean, I think Aiden has looked amazing every time. Jonathan Smith has got him out there. You know you're going to get CFF value out of him with that rush. And that run he had to put Oregon State up, the first score of that game on Saturday, was amazing. Like, I think this kid has got the tool set in the world to be one of the better quarterbacks in college football. So that's why I took him. I think he's going to give you better CFF value, and I do think he's got a chance to be drafted. Chris, go ahead. You took Jeremiah Smith, the true freshman, going to wide receiver going to Ohio State. And then I followed up with an Ohio State wide receiver.
Top 5 player.
Yeah.
Wide receiver. Ohio State. Like, add plus equals good investment. And listen, I have not watched a lot of Jeremiah Smith. I'm being honest, right? I'm relying on the grades of the recruiting team who have. And he's our number 2 wide receiver behind Micah Hudson. And he's going to a place that develops wide receivers at a disproportionately high rate. I just think that, like, the calculus is really that simple. I really do. And he's a true freshman. I think that he's going to, I think he goes higher than this when we have drafts, early next year.
I think he goes in the second round by this time, by next year, or the start, whenever everybody starts doing their startups, because I actually think because of how talented he is, I think that wide receiver room is going to open. I think the only 2 players who likely will have for sure spots next year are going to be Carnell Tate and Brandon Ennis. And that's why I ended up taking was Brandon Ennis. I think he's going to have that slot spot to himself. Carnell Tate's going to move into that Marvin Harrison spot. I don't think any of the other players that came in last year's draft class are particularly good. I think a lot of those guys that came in 2 years ago, like Keon Graves, are going to transfer out. So that gives guys like Jeremiah Smith and Mylan Graham as true freshmen in what is going to be, I think, a very interesting offense, because we don't know what that quarterback position is going to be. I assume Kyle McCord or Devin Brown, but we don't know what that's going to look like. But it's going to give them every opportunity to start as a true freshman at Ohio State. So I think he definitely jumps up the board.
Matt, scroll down a little bit on the draft so that people watching the YouTube video can actually see what's going on here. So at the 303, I just took Katron Allen. Like, I'm really looking for safety here. And man, we knew coming into this season that there were a lot of guys who weren't established, that we would have some, things that we wouldn't be able to foresee. But it's still like that going into 2024, which is like we are still in that state where there are not a lot of guys that have established themselves. And the players that I'm thinking about drafting here, a lot of them have played like less than 20 snaps on the season, or no snaps at all, or just some garbage time snaps. I mean, we're still in that place where it's hard to. There was a year where you could draft like Chuba Hubbard and Justin Fields and Trevor Lawrence and Breece Hall. We are not there. We are not there as far as established guys. So, and it looks like Chris just took Nico Iamaleava, but that was a good pick too. I should have taken Nico. It's very hard to do this like while you're talking, because you don't remember who's available. Nico Iamaleava is who I should have taken at the 303. So.
Yeah, I mean, he's just all upside with that pick, right? You get Slenderman there at I think a pretty decent value.
Yeah,
I actually wanted to ask you, Felix, about the G&T pick, because I really like Ashton G&T. I think we all really liked him as a recruit. Felt that he was one of the best receiving backs in the class, like do it all kind of all-purpose backs. He was at Boise State, and I think the NFL is certainly trying to shy away from these G5 schools early. I mean, Rashad Penny obviously went in the first, but I mean, Seattle has no idea what they're doing when it comes to drafting. Does that work? I mean, are you worried about that aspect? Because I mean, a top 22 pick is aggressive.
Oh, yeah, I mean, I am, but at the same time, like what? So some of the picks that I've made, they have both CFF value and NFL value. Like, why not take Ashton Genty here if I'm going to get 30 points a game? I hear that George Holani still has eligibility left, but when Ashton Genty was getting the rock, I mean, he was easily the more explosive player. So he's the requisite size, 205 pounds or whatever it is. Can he get to 210? Even at 205, I think he's fine. He catches the ball. I don't know. Could his NFL floor be a third down back who, catches the ball? Yeah, that's fine. And, No, we're not. I didn't draft Bijan Robinson here or Jahmyr Gibbs or anything like that. But I'm going to get a lot of production on the college side of, with Ashton Genty playing at games starting at 10 p.m. Eastern time over in the Mountain West. So, I'm taking a little bit of the Nicholas Ian Allen strategy here. I'm getting a guy who's going to put me, up there as far as the college rankings on that side, because I'm building a strong team that has some CFF value. So,
yeah, I don't necessarily disagree with it. I just was curious how you ended up there. I mean, I really like Ashton Genty too. I think he's a translatable NFL skill set.
I agree. So the last couple of picks here were at the 308. The last pick at the 308 was Berrien Brown. Mylan Graham went before that. Lenore Sellers at the 306. Luke Cromanhook, and a quarterback going to what? Florida State?
Yeah,
Florida State. Luke Cromanhook, right? And Nicholas Iamalieva at the 304. So it's I'm at the 309 here. So Matt, why don't you talk so I can make this pick?
Yeah, I mean, I find it interesting that I love the Mylan Graham pick there, Chris. He's the last wide receiver in the tier 1 we have currently. Obviously, that could change before the guide comes out, but we really like him. There's actually a couple of people on the recruiting team who think he's better than Jeremiah Smith. So I'll be very curious to see how those two kind of stack up in the ADP and everything as the drafts kind of get closer to the season. Obviously, I assume you cursing was Felix taking Lenora Sellers ahead of you. I assume that's probably who you wanted at that pick. We obviously we all really like him. Should be an interesting one. I took Luke Cromanhook. I've been a big fan of his for a while now. Matches up with guys like Cal Swanson and Brock Vandegrift when it comes to the athleticism, but then his arm, I think, is just amazing. It'll be very interesting to see what happens there at Florida State. I still think, I know, Nate has kind of proven this theory wrong, although Dante Moore kind of helped us out this year in true freshman starting to start the season. I don't think Florida State has anybody there that could really challenge him possibly for that job. He's not having a great senior season right now, but I think he could challenge for that. And then you just took, oh goodness, now it's not popping up on my screen. You think Jackson Dart comes back?
He's a junior.
I actually don't.
You don't think he comes back?
I think he's actually having a very good season, and people are kind of overlooking how good he's been.
You think he comes out and he goes in the first round? I think he's going to do what Michael Penix Jr. did. He's going to come back, show it again. That's who I was thinking of, Chris. I was thinking about taking DJ Lagway. They got these Hayes Fawcett is posting these pics of DJ Lagway throwing the ball 60 yards down the field with no cleats in the ground.
Yeah,
in the air. So
I mean, this is not news to anyone that I am extremely aggressive in selecting freshmen. And those have been my last handful of picks. DJ Lagway is a pretty interesting player, and he's probably the only reason that Billy Napier has a job right now.
No, they've been playing well. Florida's been playing well.
They just got beat by Arkansas.
Yeah,
Arkansas is horrendous.
I mean, I think he is, wrong one. In essence, probably a perfect fit for Napier's system. And I do semi-agree with Chris. I think that's the only reason they haven't fired him, because I think if they do, Lagway's going to decommit. So.
Yeah, Lagway is one. I'm thinking of offensively. I was looking at Graham Mertz's statistics yesterday, and Graham Mertz is playing really well. So when I say, I don't mean Florida. Graham Mertz the offense is playing better than I expected. Much better than I expected. And Graham Mertz is playing much better than I expected. And quite frankly, he looks like an NFL quarterback. So, okay, here. It's back to me.
Yeah.
So the last couple of picks are Berrien Brown, Jackson Dart, DJ Lagway, and Travis Hunter. We are at the 312. So this is the last pick of the third round. I have 2 picks here. Again, it's hard to make these picks on the fly, trying to talk through them and not miss anything. That's the hard thing, trying not to miss anything. So I'm looking at my wide receiver rankings here to see who's the next some players I'm thinking of. To be honest, Jerion Dickey, I'm thinking about him. I'm thinking about Nick Harbor at South Carolina. I'm thinking about Squirrel White And I think I'm actually going to go there because if Joe Milton is gone, I think that offense is going to be better. So, and Squirrel White could be the beneficiary of that. So let me go with Squirrel White here. So I got 2 picks. So I'm going to go with Squirrel White at the end of the 3rd. That'd be a great stack to have next year, Nicholas Iamaleava and Squirrel White. And then here at the top of the 4th round, Antonio Williams hasn't been selected yet, has he?
He is not.
No.
I mean, I don't know how have we overrated Antonio Williams?
Yes.
Okay. Coming for Austin.
Austin's not here. Austin's not here.
Go ahead.
Austin's
Go ahead,
not
Chris.
here. Let him cook. Let him cook.
Bud Elliott does the summer school stuff for Cover 3, and he has reporters from each team on. And the way I don't remember her name, so I apologize. But the way that they were talking about the wide receiver room made me think they don't think that highly of Antonio Williams in terms of being a wide receiver 1 on a college offense. If he can't be a wide receiver 1 on a college offense, I'm not taking this dude in the top 3 rounds of a C2C startup. Like, yeah, I think he's good. How good is he? I'm not sure. And so that's been in my mind the whole season. And I honestly kind of think that he's been hurt all year. This should be a lost season, I feel like, for him. It's just so hard to keep like the faith in him.
I mean, I think he's going to be fine. I don't think any of us build him as like a wide receiver 1 for Clemson or going into the NFL. But where I'll give Austin props is everybody had
Adam
what's
Randall.
his name? What? You
Adam Randall.
Yeah, Adam Randall is like this. There were people arguing when we did the freshman guide that Adam Randall should have been in our tier 1. And granted, he did suffer the injury. I don't, want to say that he couldn't have ended up being very good because of that. But Austin very much said that Antonio Williams is going to be the much better producer. And I think even in the limited time we've seen both of them on the field, that's been proven correct. So
there have already been some mistakes in this draft. One,
Roderick Robinson.
Well, and Caden Fegan. I took Caden Fegan at the 401. Then Matt took Roderick Robinson, and then Chris just picked up Ollie Gordon. I don't like the fact that Chris is just sitting there, just documenting who's not getting taken. Ollie Gordon should have been taken already.
I mean, maybe.
I was surprised that you had not taken
over an injured Roderick Robinson.
Well,
Roderick Robinson.
They just had a report a couple weeks ago that he's almost on his way back. It was just an ankle injury. It's not like he blew his knee out.
I thought it was a knee injury.
No, Robinson almost positive was ankle. Branson Robinson blew out his knee.
I know. No, I thought it was his Achilles.
No, I'm almost positive.
Branson Robinson was the Achilles.
Was his Achilles? I thought his was a knee. The report that I read, Roderick Robinson, was an ankle injury. I thought they said it was only a couple weeks ago he was almost back. Maybe I'm wrong.
We're going to figure out both of these here in a second. As soon as I get to pick here. Matt, why don't you just do a recap of the whole draft? That'll give me enough time to make my pick here.
Real quick, I'll just say that I think the running backs are falling because, as we talked about, I just don't think any of us. I mean, Nicholas Singleton barely made the first round. We're just not very high on running backs right now. But so. In order from 1-1 all the way down here, you got Luther Burden, Missouri wide receiver, Evan Stewart, Texas A&M wide receiver, then Zachariah Branch, USC wide receiver, followed by Quinshaw Judkins, the Ole Miss running back, Cedric Baxter Jr., the Texas running back, Deuce Robinson, the USC wide receiver / tight end, Carnell Tate, Ohio State wide receiver, Nicholas Singleton, Penn State running back, Justice Haynes, Alabama running back, Connor Wigman, Texas A&M quarterback, Jonte Cook, the second Texas wide receiver, and then Omarion Hampton, North Carolina running back, finished out the first round. Going into the second round, you had Tetaroa McMillan, Arizona wide receiver, followed by Drew Alar, Penn State quarterback, Malachi Nelson, USC quarterback, Jackson Arnold, Oklahoma quarterback, Aiden Childs, Oregon State quarterback, Arch Manning, Texas quarterback, then Eugene Wilson III, Florida wide receiver. Micah Hudson, wide receiver, going to Texas Tech, or currently committed to Texas Tech. Dylan Raiola, quarterback, currently committed to Georgia. Then Ashton Janty, Boise State running back. Dante Moore, quarterback, currently at UCLA. Followed lastly, to end the second round, Julian Sayin, currently committed to Alabama, quarterback. Third round kicked off with Jeremiah Smith, wide receiver, currently committed to Ohio State. Then Brandon Innes, Ohio State wide receiver. Katron Allen, running back for Penn State. Nicholas Slenderman, Tennessee quarterback, Luke Kromenhoek, Florida State quarterback, currently committed to Florida State, Lenora Sellers, South Carolina quarterback, Mylan Graham, wide receiver, currently committed to Ohio State, Barry and Brown, wide receiver out of Kentucky, Jackson Dart, Felix believes will be going back to school, Ole Miss quarterback, DJ Lagway, Florida commit quarterback, Travis Hunter, Colorado wide receiver, followed lastly to end the third round with Squirrel White, Tennessee wide receiver. And then to kick off the fourth round, we had Caden Fegan, Illinois, running back, Roderick Robinson, Georgia, running back, Ollie Gordon, Oklahoma State, running back, and then Luke Lachey is who Felix just picked here at the 4-4 Iowa tight end.
There are too many freshman quarterbacks being taken in this draft so far. We're not even high on the freshman quarterback class.
Only three win.
Luke Kromenhoek.
4. Sorry, Lagway. I forgot about Lagway.
DJ Lagway, Dylan Royola, and Julian Sand. We're not even high on this quarterback class.
It's the cheapest they'll ever be.
Yeah, and not only that, again, what did we talk about to start this draft last year? Malachi Nelson, Dante Moore, we're going back into the first round. Arch Manning, second round, sometimes first round. Look, don't get me wrong. I'm not disagreeing with you. We are not high on this class. Dylan Rayola, none of those guys are tier 1 right now. We have all of them in tier 2. But, Julian Sayin has a chance to be Mac Jones.
I don't think that I haven't watched Julian Sayin. I've watched a little bit of DJ Lagway. I haven't watched Luke Kromenhoek. Matt, by the way, if you want to take a look at Luke Kromenhoek, Matt put together a video on the YouTube page. But we're trying to get hits with these early, this is a startup. I want safety. I want to lock in some equity. We're swinging for the fence, and you might hit
Who is safe?
I know. Luke Lachey feels safe.
Can I
feel all warm and snuggly.
Can I argue that I actually think, depending on your opinion of those 4 quarterbacks, I think all of them are safe-ish.
Yes, they
we
are.
Just talked about.
If you mean that they're not going to play next year, and therefore
I think
you retain some value,
all of them have a chance to outside of Rayola. And
you're saying a chance to not play because playing is what preserves their value.
But I
Dante Moore is playing too, and his value's taking a hit. So
a little bit. I think people are overblowing the fact that he's a true freshman. What did you expect him to go out there and look like C.J. Stroud's looked in the NFL? It's a completely different transition from high school. No offense, high school in Michigan to going and playing in college football. It's a different transition.
It's Chris. Is it Matt? Is it Chris?
I picked.
Chris's turn.
I took down.
Yeah, I'm trying to figure out who I want to take.
Travis Hunter, I think, is a good pick. Obviously, the thing is, we don't know how the NFL is going to use him, but at this point, we know that he is a dynamic wide receiver. Why not take? He was eligible to be taken last year, and I didn't take him thinking that he's a cornerback, but they're clearly using him as both. So here we are at the 406, and Chris is up. He's trying to think of who he's going to take. I don't think you should pay attention to the teams just yet, but I will. I'll just let me just go through what they are. So Chris's first team would be Luther Burden, Julian Sayin, and Jeremiah Smith. Matt's team 1 would be Evan Stewart, Dante Moore, and Brandon Ennis. My team 1 would be Zachariah Branch, Ashton Genty, and Katron Allen. Chris's team 2 would be Quinshon Judkins, Dylan Royola, and Nicholas Alieva. Matt's team 2 would be Cedric Baxter, Micah Hudson, and Luke Kromenhoek. My team 2 would be Deuce Robinson, Eugene Wilson, and Lenora Sellers. I really like that, to be honest with you. Just to be that's fine with me. Chris's team 3 would be Carnell Tate, Arch Manning, Mylan Graham, and Cade Klubnik. Matt's team 3 would be Nicholas Ian Allen, Aiden Childs, Barry and Brown, and Dallin Hayden. I don't have a problem with that one either.
Nick
My
Singleton, right? Just real quick, Nicholas Ian Allen. Why we love Nicholas Ian Allen?
He's Nick Singleton. Excuse me. Nick Singleton, Aiden Childs, Barry Brown, Dallin Hayden. My team 3 would be Justice Haynes, Jackson Arnold, Jackson Dart, and Luke Lachey. Chris's team 4 would be Connor Wegman, Malachi Nelson, DJ Lagway, and Ollie Gordon. Matt's team 4 would be Jonte Cook, Drew Aller, Travis Hunter, and Roderick Robinson. That might be my favorite yet. My team 4, the final team here, would be Omarion Hampton, Tedero McMillan, Squirrel White, and Keaton Fagan. I like the CFF value of that team 4 there. So, Chris, did you make a pick yet?
Yeah, I took Cade Klubnik. Not a guy that I'm super high on.
I'm going to cheat.
If you take Raheem Sanders here,
I'm not taking Raheem Sanders. I'm taking
Oh,
Shedeur
okay.
Sanders. I am taking a Sanders. I mean, they already said he's not going to the NFL draft. So I'm taking Shedeur right here.
do you believe
at the 407 that he's not coming out? I mean, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know.
I don't know. I don't know either. I
It's
don't think
I
don't think he's played well enough
offense.
to be a first rounder. I just don't know where this is coming from. I really don't. Like, he struggles in so many aspects of the game still that he needs to improve on. And I'm not saying he can't. Certainly not. But
we saw that
coming up this year.
schedule next year. Hold on. Let me see if I can bring it up real quick. Colorado 2024 football.
They're in where? The Big 12?
They're in the Big 12, yes. Yeah, okay. So here's their schedule next year. North Dakota State, which is, traditionally been a very good team.
Potential loss.
Potentially. Then they got Nebraska again, at Nebraska, then Colorado State, then Arizona, Utah, Baylor, Oklahoma State, Kansas State, Cincinnati, Kansas, Texas Tech, UCF. That, they don't have Texas or Oklahoma here, because Texas or Oklahoma are not going to be in the Big 12. So that's not. They can get to 6 wins in that.
Yes, they can
in that schedule. Yeah. All right. I got to look up Roderick Robinson and Branson Robinson's injuries. Matt, can you talk for a little bit so I can look this up?
Yeah. So I just took Tennessee running back Cameron Seldon. I mean, Felix was just talking about what that offense could look like with Nico and Squirrel Wyatt. I think there's a realistic shot that Seldon gets a chance to kind of take over as a starting running back. I still have my questions about him overall playing that position, but I mean, talk about a guy who has, unlike Caden Feig, and talk about a guy who has like the name of names on his athletic chart. It's pretty impressive. I'll take a guy like that athletically gifted going into an offense that we really like. I mean, Bo Jackson, Herschel Walker, Raheem Sanders, Matt Forte, Beanie Wells, Adrian Peterson, Latavius Murray, all those guys are in the NFL. And that's a pretty wide range of very impressive players. So I think if I had to pick one, I'd say he has a chance to be probably more Matt Forte than any of those other guys, but that's still pretty good and in an offense that we expect to be very CFF relevant as well.
Oh, okay. So here's the injury news. Roderick Robinson is said to have suffered I just had it up. Well, let me just say, okay. Branson Robinson ruptured his patella tendon. And let's see, where's the patella tendon? That's in the knee.
Your foot.
Yes, it is.
Oh, it is?
Almost positive.
No, it's in the knee.
It's in the knee, yeah.
The patellar tendon is in the knee.
Hmm.
We need a
doctor.
We need a doctor around here. We need a doctor around here. And then I had Roderick Robinson. Let's see. Roderick Robinson's injury is described as an ankle injury. So patella ruptured, but ruptured. That
sounds bad.
That sounds bad. A ruptured patella. Chris is here. Do we want to end it here at the 4th? Oh, yeah, we could probably end it at the
yeah. We've only got a couple more picks. So
you're making me make some uncomfortable decisions at this juncture.
And we do this all the time, and we're here in the 4th round, and it's like, whew, this is tough.
It is tough. There's honestly a lot of I think really solid, interesting players left, but guys that I'm not sure how confident I am in. This is a guy that I think is a play for obviously next year, just based on the type, but I think he could have a big year. And that is LSU running back Caleb Jackson.
Dang it.
I think Austin's really high on him. I think he talked about him on Campus Life a couple weeks ago. I think he could have a kind of a breakout year next year. Hasn't done a lot in recent weeks, but they've been more competitive game scripts. I mean, you're not going to probably see him out in those sites. So, yeah, I think he's worth a shot here.
So, if I remember correctly, Caleb Jackson had a long run. First of all, Caleb Jackson was one of the more athletic running backs in this previous year's freshman class. And he had a long touchdown run earlier in the season. And if I'm remembering correctly, Real Analytics posted his score, and it was over 21 miles per hour. And he's got the requisite size. So in a world where there ain't a lot to pick from because there's not a lot of established guys, an LSU running back that's hyper athletic, why not here in the 4th round? It's on me.
Yeah, I know who I'm taking, assuming you don't take him. So,
well, why don't you say something nice about one of my picks?
Man, you really got
was
to
a
put my
big
feet to the
sigh.
fire on that one, huh? All right, let's look here. Let me look at your teams and figure out which pick I like. I mean,
Tight
I
end
like
round
the.
4.
I actually do like the Justice Haynes pick. Oh yeah, I love the Tedero McMillan pick. I said you should have taken him ahead of Amari and Hampton. I guess it wouldn't matter because they ended up on the same team. But I mean, I think McMillan has a chance to go 1st round when he comes out again. I like the Justice Haynes pick. I think that was. I probably should have taken him. But you took him probably not earlier than I thought. Obviously, Lenore Sellers won as well. I mean, if he has a chance to be what we think he can be, not only going to get CFF production from him probably for 2 years. I don't want to say he's on the Anthony Richardson spectrum because I think he is one of one. He's a unicorn, but I think if Lenore Sellers goes out there and plays as well as we've kind of seen him do at time, or it was really spring game and then very rarely here. Yeah, one bomb. But hey, it was a very beautiful bomb. So, if he's able to replicate that and do that more over the next 2 years, again, I don't think that it's out of the realm of possibilities to say there's a shot he could be a 1st round pick in a couple of years. So that's a good pick as well. I like that Lenore Sellers one.
He's Anthony Richardson with rec specs.
I did a video earlier this year about the next Anthony Richardson, and you all teased me because I had what's the Auburn quarterback? The Auburn quarterback transfer from Oregon. I forgot his name already.
Robbie Ashford.
Robbie Ashford. Yeah, I had Robbie Ashford in there, but I also said Lenore Sellers. So I just took Antonio Williams here at the 410. Man, I was thinking about another wide receiver here, but Antonio Williams is,
So I'm taking a wide receiver. I'm wondering if it's who you were going to take.
I was thinking Kevin Concepcion.
I'm also taking a wide receiver.
That is not at all who I thought you were going to take.
And you're probably going to make your pick, and I'm going to be like, dang, I should have taken him. It's hard to do this live.
Isaiah Bond. I think he's got the way he's played this
I should have
year.
taken him.
And like I said, I really think if Milroe doesn't come back, which is probably a possibility, I think there's probably a higher likelihood that he comes back than goes out. If he comes out, I do think that Julian Sain ends up being the starting quarterback for Alabama. I think that just is going to rocket Isaiah Bond's value up. I mean, I think, Felix, you said you have him as a top 20 wide receiver. I do as well. I think Austin has said that I know he was higher on Bond than most of us because a lot of us like Malik Benson. He's a player that I think is going to move up draft boards a little bit more next year. So yeah, I think that I was hoping you were not going to take him.
It's a good pick. Antonio Williams here is a great pick too. I find it hard to believe he will go this late in any other draft. I just have my concerns and whatnot. So this is the last pick, right? Because
yeah,
a couple players that I'm looking at here. Matthew Golden did not go, right?
He has not gone yet. I thought about him as well, but he has not gone.
He's an interesting pick here. He's been outplayed by Sam Brown though this year, and like different style of wide receiver. So
older.
Yeah, but if you're Matthew Golden in your second year, you should be the best wide receiver in your team if we think that highly of you in terms of you being a top 15, 20 pick in Devy. Here nor there. So I did really think about him here. I'm actually going to go with a different wide receiver though, and that's Mekhi Lemon at USC. I like Mekhi Lemon. Think he's a solid wide receiver. I don't buy any of that corner stuff, despite him playing corner in high school and being pretty darn good at it.
That's the only reason I didn't take him. I worried about that, and I was like, man, if that really does happen, like you're screwed because he's not Travis Hunter, where he can play both sides.
No, and I think he's a really solid player. I obviously went to high school with Malachi Nelson. He hasn't been super productive this year. He hasn't really been on the field in recent weeks, at least to a drastic extent, but I wouldn't be surprised if we saw him a little more down the stretch. I really wouldn't. So I still believe in the player.
Malachi Nelson could be one of the biggest winners from the bowl season.
Oh, 100%. Yeah.
Because Caleb Williams, I would bet all the money I have that he's not playing in the bowl game And we're going to see
Do you
Miller
think-
Moss.
do you
and
think
we're
he
gonna
plays
see
again this
Malachi
season?
Nelson.
I think he plays against Oregon, and that's it. I was going to say I actually don't think he finishes out the season.
I mean, the way that
Yeah,
he looked on
I
the sidelines
agree.
looked like a player who'd played their last football game.
Why
I
would
mean-
he play? Well, they got 3 games left. Why would
No,
he play?
2. Maybe
They
they'll
only
play.
got 2.
Yeah, Oregon,
Yeah, they played 10
UCLA.
games.
Maybe
They have
he
all of them in
will.
the championship.
They're not going to be in the national.
Yeah.
They're not going to be in the Pac-12 championship game.
Maybe he will because, I mean, not that, Felix has brought this up many a times, how they don't really sell out there. Maybe he won't, but USC, UCLA, it is a rivalry game. Like, maybe he'll be there to play that, but I mean, I don't know. If I were him at this point, I'm not. Like, what do you have to gain? Even if you beat Oregon, okay,
absolutely
big
nothing.
whoop. Like, you have nothing. You have a bigger chance of ending up like Jake Butt. Who was the linebacker for Notre Dame? The Cowboys ended up still
Miles
drafting in the
Jack.
second round. No,
not Miles Jack.
Notre Dame, Jalen something.
Smith?
He happened.
Jalen
Yeah,
Smith.
was it that? It happened in the Ohio State bowl game. He didn't need to play, and he was a projected top 5 pick. Blows his knee out. Like, Caleb Williams has so much more to lose at this point. If I'm him, I'm sitting down.
I am too, but honestly, I don't think, and I don't believe this personally, but there's a lot of talk about him on social media that like he's soft, he's a quitter, all of that. I don't buy that, but him not playing the rest of the season after that would only add fuel to that fire. So I kind of wonder if he wants to expose himself to that sort of criticism, which I'm not sure that
I don't
all
think
NFL teams believe that, but I believe there are some old cranky men in those front offices who believe that.
There will be 100% probably GMs and scouts who will come on off the record and criticize him of not being a team player and all this other stuff if he does that. And the people who have the bad opinions of him are because of the way he handles himself at times in interviews and all that other stuff. But you know what? I said it, I believe, on our Devy call. I don't know if this was ever published or not because we had an argument about Caleb Williams versus Drake May. And there were people who brought up that they felt like Caleb Williams' attitude was a little bit of a thing. I'm like, you know what? But if he was winning all the time, not one of you would say a damn word about it. Like, I don't think that it's fair to criticize him for that stuff because the dude is extremely talented. He is uber talented. He's still going to be the number 1 quarterback. Yes, people are going to criticize him. And I agree with you, Chris. They're going to be those old crusty GMs that sit there and say, oh, you know what? He ended up not playing the last 2 games. Dude, you've got to take care of yourself. He'll still be a top whatever pick if he gets hurt. But if he gets hurt, he's not going to go 1-1 overall. They'll take Drake May because he is still a good quarterback. Like, you're risking so much more of your future doing that. I'm sorry. And I don't think I'd ever thought I'd be on this side of the argument. I think I am on Austin's side arguing against Felix on this, but with like Caleb, it's just so locked in. Again, this is a dude 2 years ago telling you Jackson Dart was going to be better. I was wrong. Like, Caleb Williams is an amazing player. Like, just sit, man. Don't do this to yourself. There's no point. Because why? He's just going to go out there and get murdered like he has all season long because his team is just not good. It's not worth it.
All right. Just one more recap here. In Matt and Chris, while I'm doing this, think about the best and worst picks. Maybe from each round. Best and worst.
Of
worst
own?
picks from each round. No,
I'll just do the whole round.
Oh, okay.
Of any of the picks. So here we go. This is the first round. Luther Burden, Evan Stewart, Zachariah Branch, Quinshawn Judkins, Cedric Baxter, Deuce Robinson, Carnell Tate, Nicholas Singleton, Justice Haynes, Connor Wegman, Jonte Cook, Amarian Hampton, Tetaroa McMillan. In the second round, Drew Aller, Malachi Nelson, Jackson Arnold, Aiden Childs, Arch Manning, Eugene Wilson, Micah Hudson, Dylan Royola, Ashton Genty, Dante Moore, Julian Sayin. In the third round, Jeremiah Smith, Brandon Ennis, Katron Allen, Nicholas Iamalieva, Luke Cromanhook, Lenora Sellers, Mylan Graham, Barian Brown, Jackson Dart, DJ Lagway, Travis Hunter, Squirrel White. In the fourth round, in the final round here, Roderick Robinson, Ollie Gordon, Caden Fegan, Roderick Robinson, Ollie Gordon, Luke Lachey, Dallin Hayden, Cade Klubnik, Shador Sanders, Cameron Seldon, Caleb Jackson, Antonio Williams, Isaiah Bond, Makai Lemon. All right, let's go to the first round here. Matt, give me your best pick from the first round.
I mean, I think it's really hard to pick one out. Best pick. I think a lot of these guys are probably going there. If I had to go one, I'm going to give it to Chris and Connor Wigman. I mean, I think because he got injured, we kind of forgot how good he was to start off the year as a quarterback. I think, Austin's talked about it on Campus Life that he moved him up a while ago to his QB1. I think there's a realistic shot if he plays the way he did last year, he's going to be the top quarterback drafted in his draft class. So to me, to get the QB1 there at the end of the first round is a pretty good pick.
What about give me your worst?
I mean, it's Amari and Hampton, just because I do believe you could have got him later. And not that not that I believe it's a bad pick overall. I think he probably could have gone second, maybe even early third. I don't think he's going to go first round in most startups, like ADP wise. I think you could have got him later, personally.
Mox, give me your best and worst.
I already said I thought Deuce Robinson was bad value. At the 106.
If he would have caught that touchdown that he dropped, you guys would have been fine with this pick. Whatever.
Nah, I still think he's like second, third round. At the first round, it's top 6.
Yeah,
but I've
allegedly
been taking Deuce Robinson too early this entire time. Even
I
in
agreed with you.
Drafts,
I agreed with you in the freshman drafts. Yeah. I think we're a little cart before the horse kind of thing. Anyway, my favorite pick in this round, or what I thought was the best pick, was I like the Cedric Baxter pick. I actually think he's really played some really nice football in the last couple weeks. I think Roshan Johnson's a little hurt. Jonathan Brooks, Texas running backs, is a little banged up, but Baxter stepped into his place and looked nice. I like that run on the fake tush push.
Yeah. And I mean, again, we've talked about Sark's, consistent run of 1,000-yard running backs. It's actually why I ended up taking him over Singleton. I think CFF value, and I think he's got a shot to be a fairly good draft pick as well.
Yeah, I like that.
All right. Same
Felix?
thing, Matt, for this.
No, what's yours? You got to give a shot.
I was reading. I gotta
okay.
Okay, I think let me look at it. The best pick is probably Carnell Tate, just given what we've seen from that position. He's going to take over from Marvin Harrison Jr. He's another player that could have a huge bowl game, and he's getting snaps already. So I think Carnell Tate is probably the best pick. The worst pick, I haven't watched Connor Wegman, with Bobby Petrino. Bobby Petrino there calling the plays. That's the one where I'm like, maybe there's something that Chris knows that I don't. Now, I know that somebody just called that the best, but I just would have passed on quarterback altogether there. But that being, I have not watched, a lot of Connor Wegman this season. I watched their spring game in depth, but I have not watched a lot of Connor Wegman this season. So maybe Chris knows something I don't. I would have just passed. Let's go to the second round here, Matt.
Best pick, man, that's hard. I don't love any of these picks. I guess I'll say Ted Aroa because I think he could have been a first round pick. He probably should have been the 112 over Amari and Hampton. So I'll say Ted Aroa. You got a one pick steal on him. The worst here for me is Dylan Raiola, because I don't think that this class is overly impressive. I would have taken him. I have no problem taking him in the third round where like Lagway, Chrome, and Hook went. But I think in the second round, a guy that you might end up having to wait 2 years to get, and we still don't believe he's overly impressive, and we don't even have a tier 1 grade on him. I would have waited a little bit. Like I'd have taken a couple of the guys that went like right after, like Jeremiah Smith, Brandon Ennis. I don't know about Janty, but Dante Moore. Like I probably would have taken all of them over Raiola. So not a horrible pick, but like if I'm having to pick one out of that round, I think that's the one that kind of stands out to me.
I wrote it down somewhere. Hold on. So I think the best pick and the worst pick belong to the same person. And that's Felix. I love the Jackson Arnold pick. I actually regret taking Malachi Nelson over him. I think when we've seen Arnold this year, he's been pretty awesome. I think he's certainly the future there, and I've been really, really impressed. And he played high level high school too, so you're not really wondering what the transition is going to be for him, as it is for some other players. I don't think I would take Eugene Wilson in the middle of the second round. And I like the way that he's played this year. I really do. I think he's been really impressive. And I liked him as a recruit too. That's just a little high. But it's not a bad pick either, because I'm looking at the next couple picks and I'm like, well, would I actually prefer them to Eugene Wilson? Maybe not.
Yeah, that's where I was like, it's hard to pick a bad pick, because like all these guys I think really, once you get from me, like to pick 12, 13, I'm kind of like, I mean, all these guys are kind of grouped together. I don't know that I love or hate any of these picks.
I think my favorite, it just sucks that we've propped up Aiden Childs as much as we have, because there was no draft that I was in where I could sneak Aiden Childs onto my roster. And it's even the same way here. Like, it's just frustrating because he went ahead of Arch Manning. And I agree with it. Like, I agree like that. I don't have any problem with that. It's just that both he and Lenore Sellers, I'm like, I might be able to sneak them onto my rosters into the 6th round of freshman drafts. I ended up having to take them in like the 3rd and 4th round. And, next, I don't have a problem. That's probably my favorite pick. My least favorite pick, without question, is Julian Sayin. Now, I haven't watched Julian Sayin, but Julian Sayin going ahead of Nicholas Iamaleava. Like, we know what Nicholas Iamaleava's talent is. We know that the system that he's in. I think that we see more of 2022 Tennessee next year with Nico Iamaleava at the helm. So that will be the one. That'll be my the pick that I'm critical about. All right, Matt, let's go to the 3rd round. Your best and worst.
Well, much like Chris talking about in the last round, both of them go to the same person, and it is also you, Felix. I love the Lenore Sellers pick. Lenore Sellers, getting him at 3-6. I don't think you'll get him in the 3rd round by the time startup season comes. So that was a great pick. This pick, I think you took them here because you were looking for a running back, and I don't think you realized, like you said, some of the guys available. Like, I get that Nicholas Singleton has not been good, but let's not pretend that like Katron Allen has been like really good either. He's not necessarily had a good season. I think that was a little bit of a reach on him. I think he probably could have gone 4th or 5th round. So especially over, you took him over Nico, over Lenore Sellers,
Ollie Gordon.
Over Ollie Gordon, Roderick Robinson. I mean,
and
even
I don't
Jalen
have him ranked that way. I just didn't notice that Ollie Gordon was still there. So.
Who has a chance to be the running back for Ohio State next year because they don't have anybody else in that room if Henderson leaves. So Mayan Williams has to go. So, like, there's a lot of running backs I think could have gone ahead of Katron Allen. So that's the only reason why. And overall, not a bad pick, but like I think he went earlier than he should have.
I didn't actually dislike the Katron Allen pick. It's funny that, well, I don't want to be calling people out on here. That's what we do, right?
You've already called out Austin. You already came for Austin's throat, so just go for whoever you're going for.
All right. Dylan Raiola went how many picks above Luke Kromenhoek?
1, 2, 3, 4,
9?
5, 6, 7, 8. Yeah, 8 or 9. My math
9
is not
picks.
Great. So,
and I think there's a huge gap between those two players.
For you, yes.
I think that taking Kromenhoek at 305, and I know that you are very high on him. So that is your evaluation of the player. But I just think that's a little too aggressive. I would certainly take Lenore Sellers over him.
Fair. That's fair.
The pick that I like the most, I'm leading with the pick I like the least every single time. I gotta be more positive. I'm actually gonna stick with you, Matt. I actually like the Travis Hunter pick. I think it's high upside. If he plays wide receiver at the next level, I think he's going to be a really talented player. Risk, but certainly some nice upside.
Felix, do you have best and worst?
I made the comparison of the Julian Sayin pick to Nico Iamaleava, so I'm just going to say the Nico Iamaleava pick for Chris. That was an excellent pick. And then I also, to be honest, like of the freshmen taken, DJ Lagway right here taken in the 3rd. That's the one, the freshman quarterback that I think that's the appropriate value. Oh, I'm doing 2 good ones. A bad one. I actually like the Lagway pick and the EMLA. A bad one. This 3rd round is like not too bad. I can point to the Kromenhoek pick too, because I just don't think that's the correct value. So for a bad one, I'll. But I know that's your boy. So I mean, you're taking.
I am very big on him.
You're taking your boy, but nobody else would have taken him though. Like, you know what? Nobody would have taken him in this draft.
But to point out, maybe not. The problem is, so not that I'm going to say I think he can be Aiden Childs, but he's my Aiden Childs this year. He's a guy that I'm very high on. I think everybody else is underrating. And just like you said, in a lot of those drafts, I didn't get a chance to roster Aiden Childs because people ended up taking him when I thought I was going to get him later. So at this point, where I agree with Chris and something him and Austin have said for a long time, this is as cheap as you're going to get those players. I think there's a realistic shot he plays at Florida State next year. I think he has a better skill set than Jordan Travis, and Jordan Travis has been very CFF relevant and honestly kind of good. So if he goes out there and does that in that system, I think I will end up winning and laughing with that pick. So I agree it is a little bit of a risk. But for me, Lenora Sellers is the only one that went behind him. I'm going to be honest, I forgot Lenora Sellers was even there. Like the rest of the guys that went, I'm perfectly fine taking him there and taking a shot on somebody else later. So, fourth round.
Yeah, last round here. Yep, best and worst.
Dude, I think all these picks are good. I think some of that is, like I said, we were doing this on the fly, and like when I realized Roderick Robinson was there, I was like, oh God, please don't. Like that's exactly who I want. So I'll just I really think all of those are. I like the Mekhi Lemon pick. He probably, if we know for sure he's going to be wide receiver, goes earlier. Roger Robinson, Ollie Gordon, Selden, Jackson, Hayden, Luke Lachey, even because he has a chance to be one of the top tight ends in college. If I have to pick a bad one, I'm coming for you, Chris, on this one, because I've said for 2 years that
Oh
Cade
my
Klubnik
gosh.
sucks. It's way too early for Cade Klubnik because he's going to suck again next year. Realistically, I think this is where he goes. I actually don't think there's a bad pick in this round. I think this is a very good round overall, but if I had to pick one, because I would not be taking Cade here.
Okay. Thank you for that. I'm going to be nice on my first go around. Switch it up a little bit. I think that you are getting Antonio Williams at a pretty significant discount, Felix. I think that he should go higher, period. And just because I'm a little bit lower on him doesn't mean that he shouldn't be probably potentially 2 rounds higher. You talked through the pick at the time as well. I still can't get behind Luke Lachey in the 4th round. I just can't. He's like an 8th, 9th, 10th rounder to me. And I'm the tight end guy. I considered Oscar Delp here because I think he's the next one up at Georgia. But Lachey's that's just too much. Can I ask a question? I know that's not what we're doing right now, but I am curious because I took Ollie Gordon here at 403. How far off are Ollie Gordon and Amarian Hampton from each other? Because Amarian Hampton went 112 and Ollie Gordon went 403.
Yeah, not far at all. Not far at all. That's why, you have to do these mock drafts a lot so you can have a good sense for where players should be taken. And especially when we're doing this live, like Shedeur should not have fallen to the 4th round. Ollie Gordon should have not fallen to the. You weren't going to take Shedeur?
I think the 4th round is. I think the 4th, 5th round is fair for him. I don't think Robinson, Ollie Gordon, Antonio Williams.
You got a quarterback one on the college side who Dane Brugler has got in his top 32 this year. You don't think that he should go in the first 2 rounds?
No, because none of us.
I'm putting my feelings. I'm putting my feelings aside about it. They're plugged in, and he is a quarterback one unquestionably in college fantasy.
None of us believe he's really going to be a 1st round pick. And I'm just look, I get it. It's Dan Brugler, but you know what? I'm going to go ahead and tout the company of C2C. Well, we've been kind of right on a lot of these quarterbacks over the past couple of years. So when all of us are sitting here saying that's cool, I'm glad the NFL is valuing him as a 1st round pick. None of us see it that way. I get the CFF side of it. I don't hate the 4th round for him, but I think it's a little bit early. Okay. But he's going to be better than Cade Klubnik, so I would have taken him over Cade.
You take over Cade, ha ha ha. You guess, whatever.
Is it my turn?
Yes.
I agree that my Luke Lachey. I like Luke. I really like Luke Lachey as a player, but I agree that that was not a great pick. So I'm picking on myself here. Actually, I also think taking Roderick Robinson over Ollie Gordon is probably problematic. So I'm getting on Matt there, I guess, because he took Roderick Robinson.
Yeah.
And the Isaiah Bond. I don't know why I never draft Isaiah Bond, but he is one of my favorite players. Like I like the small,
He's
shifty, wide receiver. He is fun. So Isaiah Bond, I think, is my favorite pick there. All right. Is that it?
That's it.
Anybody that didn't go that y'all were surprised didn't go?
Not. I mean, I got to look at my rankings here.
I was a little
But
surprised nobody took Devin Brown.
See, I thought about him, McCord, Ewers, just because I think all of them are back in college. But I don't know where Devin Brown or McCord's going to be. Like, that's why I pivoted away from both of them. Another one, with especially as good as this offense has been, I thought about taking Garrett Nussmeier in the 4th. I think he's going to be the starting quarterback at LSU. He's one that I was a little surprised didn't go.
That's a good call, but I have Garrett Nussmeier stashed in so many, like all of these backups. So this year I took a lot of Malik Murphy, Garrett Nussmeier, Connor Harrell. Like I have those guys already stashed on rosters. So that's like the next level of C2C where you already know where the depth chart is headed and you get those guys stashed. That's what like Kyle Francis and Austin would do. So I've kind of learned to get those guys on my rosters 1 year early.
I got one more player that I actually wish I drafted above Clay Klubnik. No, he's eligible this year. Never mind. I think he's coming out. I was gonna say Phil Maffa, but he's eligible. I think he'll come out. But if he doesn't,
like Phil Maffa.
I think Phil Maffa's better than Will Shipley.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Okay. I think that's it. Hopefully you liked this mock draft. If you do, go ahead and drop. If you're listening now, go ahead and drop this video a like and subscribe to the channel. And by the way, we haven't gotten a rate and review in a very long time. If you like it, we're about to be in our bag here because the offseason is going to come. People are going to want college football content, even though the college football season is over. And this is where you need to be. So drop a like on this video, subscribe to the YouTube channel, and leave a rate and review on the Campus to Canton podcast feed. But I think that's it. That's going to be our show for tonight. Apologies to Kirk Herbstreit. We ran out of time, but we will get him rescheduled soon. For Matt Bruning and Chris Moxley, I'm Felix Sharp. Good night and good luck.